Well, it appears heading into 2021, there's going to be a seismic shift in how business is done in the pinball industry. Just last week, there was a new end user license agreement that Stern has put out that takes aim at streamers, at people that mod games, and we're going to go over all of that right now. First and foremost, one thing that we really do need to understand about the situation is this has been a long time coming. And I actually noticed this on a podcast that the Super Awesome Pinball Show did with Gary Stern earlier this month. I think it was around December 3rd. So it was super early this month. And there was parts in this in which I caught that I felt the need. I was like, I need to address this at some point. I need to make a video of it. But I decided to sit on it. And thus we are where we are today because now there's been a new end user license agreement that Stern has just put out. I think it was right around Christmas Eve or so, sometime right around there when all those codes dropped. And suddenly people were having to agree to this new agreement. Now, before we go over it, I think we need to provide a little bit of context where Stern Pinball is coming from. And we're going to do that via an excerpt from the Super Awesome Pinball Show featuring Gary Stern right now.
So what's going on is this is becoming so rampant that the licensors, some of them are saying, what's going on here? And others are saying, you've got a bunch of thieves for customers, so we don't really want to be in your business anymore. So we'll lose some licensors over it. We are required to tell the licensor if we know of anybody infringing the copyright, like using their logo in an accessory. And they're going to start chasing after it. So you guys making accessories may get a nice warning from us. Please stop that. And Disney or somebody, they take this seriously. They're going to make an example of some people. If you make something that isn't the licensor's, great. But if you're using the licensor's stuff, that's theft. It's somebody else's property. You played somebody else's music without a license. No. That's not good.
So Gary's not wrong on any of this at all. But it is interesting the things that he said right there because it is taking direct aim at a lot of people in the pinball industry. But again, he is absolutely within his rights and he is absolutely correct on this. Now, the things that we have to really unpack from those statements, and something that really caught my ear the very first time I heard this was just his last comment right there when he talked about the music, right? If you don't own the rights to the music and you're playing it, and he clearly says that's not good. Well, what do we think is happening every time people stream Stern pinball games, or basically any pinball game that is modern, but especially Stern pinball games because they have the most? So I found that comment very interesting and almost revealing, compared to what is going to happen and what's coming down the road with these live DMCA strikes and takedowns and all this and that. And it was interesting that was said, especially because in the days afterwards, Stern Pinball's Facebook page was still advertising other streamers besides Deadflip, and they advertise Deadflip all the time. And I don't know what the arrangement is with anybody there. I have no clue. But the fact that Gary Stern is talking about this openly, and he's openly admitting that when you use music like that constitutes a certain degree of theft. And that's where this whole DMCA thing comes in, that people are playing music in which they don't own the rights to. And unfortunately, the way pinball works, when you're dealing with so many assets that are built into the game to where the sound is a major part of the game, it's not just a background part. When you're playing music pins or certain other pins, that is the game. I mean, just take a look at Guns N' Roses right now, 21 songs. Take a look at how they're doing Led Zeppelin or how they're advertising Led Zeppelin, a concert in a box. That is the game. And so it doesn't surprise me that now this new end user license agreement is coming out. I'm just very curious to know what the direction is going to be moving forward for people that are wanting to stream pinball, for people that are wanting to be involved in the pinball industry. Let's go ahead and take a look at this end license agreement right now. This is the Stern Pinball end user license agreement. Now, all this stuff we don't necessarily have to go through just because it's definitions of everything. But I will say I did consult with a lawyer friend about this to ask what this could mean. And he got back to me, and it was pretty interesting with the things that he had to say. Now, Of course, he said he doesn't know how much of this is enforceable. He wouldn't know unless it's litigated in court. I think that's the terminology he used. I don't know. I haven't watched Legally Blonde in years, so I'm hoping that's the correct terminology. But looking through this and kind of telling him what some of the pinball modifications are, what some of the businesses are outside of Stern Pinball, he basically confirmed that the way that this reads, pretty much everything could technically fall under this. And that's kind of scary once you think about it. But let's just go ahead and just go through this a little bit. And we'll kind of unpack this right now. And so we'll start somewhere. We'll just start right here on A. And it says here, as a condition to this Stern Pinball software license, you agree that you will not copy, reproduce, alter, replace, distribute, reverse engineer, decompile, disassemble, display, perform, create derivative works based on, or otherwise modify the Stern Pinball hardware or Stern Pinball software or any authorized update in whole or in part, and will not commercially exploit any of the foregoing. And thus, this part right here is the part that it really is a big part of it, guys. And, you know, from my understanding, the way that this could read, especially if you're looking at just the hardware portion of it, and hardware is basically talking about wiring, it's talking about physical componentry. That's what the hardware means. And then we got to start thinking about, well, what all could that possibly be? Well, for one glaring example of this is color DMDs. That is one shining example of something that affects the hardware. Another thing is the pin sub kits, in which you attach it to the back of your back box inside there that helps you use it as an adapter for an external sub. That, from my understanding, would technically fall under this. And not only that, hardware, depending on how draconian that they want to go with this, it could technically mean lights, guys. It could. Now, that being said, I hope that's not it. I don't want that to be it. And at the end of the day, I'm not an attorney. This is just pure speculation on my part. And this is from having a conversation with somebody that does work in business contracts and deals with this stuff from time to time. And it's kind of his interpretation without him knowing what the pinball industry is like at all. Moving on to the following, it says, you will not use or install any unauthorized content or unauthorized software. Use of unauthorized content and unauthorized software may result in your Stern Pinball machine ceasing to work permanently and or losing access to Stern Pinball's online game network either immediately or after a later installed authorized update. Now, of course, naturally, this confirms a couple of things, that Stern Pinball's online gaming system, or whatever you may have, is coming. It's definitely coming. Now, this also shows that essentially anything, and this is even explained in the following, and we'll just get to the following, and then I'll come to my thought. You will not create, develop, distribute, or assist anyone else in creating, developing, or distributing any unauthorized content or unauthorized software intended for use with the Stern Pinball machine, whether to add to or modify the gameplay, any audio content, whether music, sound, or voice, or any video content of any Stern Pinball machine, or to gain advantage in any online or other game modes or otherwise. So custom code is out. Custom sound is out. Pretty much anybody that puts videos is out. And not only that, when we're really going over this, what's happening is too, they're going to, this clearly appears that they are going to hold distributors liable also. There is such thing as secondary liability, to where if there is a company that is basically selling something that is infringing on copyright and they know it is, they could be held accountable as well. And I'm not going to name names, but of course, I'm sure you guys could poke around and see different distributors are linking directly to different mod companies as well. And this is something that's probably going to dramatically change entering the new year. I don't see any other way it can. And I think too that this will dramatically change how certain shows are done in terms of how these distributors come out and the things that they have available for sale. With Stern putting this out, I'm sure that they've, of course, walked around all the shows that they've been to, and they've seen tons of unauthorized use of the IPs that they have a license for. And Gary Stern said it himself on the Super Awesome Pinball Show that eventually somebody like Disney is going to do something about it. And Disney, House of Mouse does not play around, guys. They do not play around at all. And it is well within Stern's rights to go after certain people that are basically affecting their copyright. And most of your legal obligations, whenever you do enter an agreement for a license, you have to let your licensor know if somebody is infringing on that, because a lot of times too, the licensor and the licensee will actually work together with the legal fees and how they're going to go after people. That does happen a lot of times. I've seen it happen myself in some of the businesses I've been involved in, and it's not pretty. And this is a unique road that pinball is going to go down, because it's been like the Wild West for a very, very long time. And I think we're going to see that come to an end, especially with this agreement right here. The next one says, you will not share any Stern pinball software, authorized content, or authorized update with any other person or company, and will not permit anyone else to access or copy any Stern pinball software or authorized content or authorized update installed on your machine for any purpose. The way that is read to me is that they're going to prevent people from reverse engineering their products, homebrews, stuff like that. I think that that's kind of what that takes aim at. Then it says here, and this is a big one right here, in view of the rights held by third-party owners of authorized content, such as music and video clips, you will not stream your gameplay of your Stern pinball machine without Stern's Pinball's prior consent. There you have it right there. Now, I don't think, of course, that this is Stern's way of saying you have to actually get consent. I got the feeling that something like this might be reworded a little bit, because I could see them absolutely getting slammed with requests. And I don't think that they want to give any consent to any of that. I think that this is just wording in a legally binding agreement that they're trying to indemnify themselves from anybody that could possibly get in trouble for streaming such things. And this could relate to either live DMCA strikes, that could relate to the actual licensor going after them. But of course, it feels like this might have been something that's just been thought of just in the past couple of weeks, because it is kind of odd that they've advertised, you know, whether it's Dead Flip, whether it's other streamers on their website and such, you know, on their Facebook page. And then all of a sudden that they have something like this that's in their end user license agreement, basically saying you cannot stream your gameplay of your Stern pinball machine without their consent. Now, the question is, does Stern Pinball actually have the power to give consent to use copyrighted material? Well, as we saw with Led Zeppelin, most likely the answer is no. I mean, they're going to get taken down a lot of times. And it's kind of one of those weird things that, you know, sometimes they'll get consent. I mean, there's some situations where you could probably get some consent to actually use a product that you have a license for in a certain way. But at the same time, too, DMCA strikes are so annoying that even if you do have permission for it, you're still going to get taken down. And then you got to go through all the formalities of proving that you have the copyright capability of showing or of displaying this. And that's just, I mean, it is an entirely huge headache, but I'm every which direction on this. I'm just wanting to know how this is going to play out. I'm just wanting clarity. I fully expect more clarity to come from this. It is a crazy past few days, and you know, I guess it is what it is for now until we get more information. But other than that, though, guys, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys being here. Please leave a like, comment below. What do you guys think about this? Is this cool? Not cool? Did you see it coming? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, later, guys.